So one of the reasons people avoid failure is because people like progress. And so when you're making progress, and let's say, for instance, you've taken 10 steps forward, but all of a sudden you have a failure and it takes you 3 steps back, people find that discouraging. So now instead of being at a 10, you're at a 7, when you're hoping that the effort would take you to 13, right? And so then, but it's actually really ill-conceived, because if we look at the bigger picture, the real progress we're trying to make is actually the learning. And so it's the experience that we need to be able to do anything. And so when you're learning, what you need to do is as important as knowing what not to do. And so when you are taking next steps on making any kind of progress, as you do that, one of the key things that actually happen is you take a step, and then you're trying to make progress, and typically it will yield some results, and then it will give you some problems, and you solve that, and then you take the next step, and then that will yield you some results. Sometimes actually, however, we make the wrong decisions, and then it yields results that we didn't want, and we call those failures. And so instead of actually making progress, quote unquote progress, moving forward, we move backwards, or we're actually in a situation where we have to move backwards to readjust, and then again reassess, and then move forward. And we consider that failure, and then we consider that a bad thing. But when we create systems, or when we are building anything, or when we are working on any kind of project, whether it be health, fitness, or productivity, or whatever it is, we need that information. We actually absolutely need that information of what we should not do, and because that gives us certainty. And so just knowing in what direction to move actually doesn't give us certainty. If anything, ironically, it gives us a certain sense of anxiety. So if you're going with GPS and you missed a turn and it didn't reroute for you, you'd be filled with anxiety, even if you knew what route to take, because there's this feeling that if you miss a turn for one reason or another, then it'd be certain doom. You'd never reach your destination. And so knowing where to go is actually never enough. What is actually more important is to have a robust system where, if going in one direction doesn't work, knowing what other directions to take, and what directions won't work and what directions you can. So there's a certain tolerance that's built into achieving any kind of skill set or anything you learn. So tolerance is really important. What actually gives a clear gauge for the tolerance is your failure points. The failure points are must not do's, and then anything in between the direction you need to go and the tolerance points of must not do's is something that's permissible for you to adjust in order for you to be able to achieve what it is, whatever skill set it is you're learning. And so, like, if you take a bike riding analogy, there are some things that you should just not do because it will certainly make you fall. But within that, you can do whatever you need to do to adjust for the bike. If you're mountain biking and you're on the terrain, there are certain things that you know you're allowed to do, but there are certain things that you should absolutely not do. And it's a failure points that actually allows you to do that. And it's an ecosystem of that information and that experience that allows you to be really great at what you do. And so if that's really the case, then maybe you did not make as much progress in the progress that you're tracking, but from a learning perspective and a growth perspective, you absolutely made progress. And so if you're, let's say for instance, trying to build muscle mass, and you're looking at it, and you did something, and let's say for instance you adjusted your diet, but instead of actually muscles bulking up further, it made you your muscles smaller because it wasn't as conducive. Then the progress went backwards or downwards, but your knowledge went up, and so it is absolutely growth from a learning perspective, and that accumulated understanding is what makes you a master, makes you great at anything. And so I just wanted to distinguish that failure is an absolute progress when it comes to learning. Hopefully this concept helps you in becoming more and more comfortable in embracing failure. Thank you.